place that you're going to hold on to ways that students can organize informational writing. And if you haven't used anchor charts before, I would highly recommend that you start now, because the information unit is very concrete and anchor charts are going to probably be a lot more sort of graspable and easy to understand and conceptualize for teachers who haven't tried them yet, because you can actually plan them out considering that the information content is also planned out for you. So when you're introducing an anchor chart, there's an interplay that happens between your first language and the language that you're teaching, and I'll just demonstrate that to you right now. So the first writing point that we're going to cover in phase 1 of cycle 4 is to put in introductions. So to say there's 3 important things that you need to know. So let's imagine that you just did the academic card talk and you're gonna write about that during the shared writing, and you talked about things that were more culturally, emblematic in the opinion of your students and less culturally emblematic in their opinions. So let's imagine that you did this line of French, how French is it? And I did this with my class actually. And the number 1 things were escargot and baguettes, even though I did point out that we do frequently eat baguettes nowadays in our culture. They still insisted on baguettes. And also, I don't remember what, but let's imagine they said croque monsieur, like grilled cheese sandwiches, or French onion soup. So that would have been during the guided oral input, and now we're moving on to setting up this anchor chart for your first write and discuss. And like I said, there's kind of an interplay between the first and second languages. I'm just gonna quickly go and see what the title of this anchor chart is in the lesson overview. So it says, don't lose the reader. So I'm gonna use that, but I'm gonna write it in French. So I have to think in French, how would I say that? I think I'd say like, ne perdons pas les lecteurs, like let's not lose the readers. Or you could say like guider les lecteurs, like guide the readers. I think I'll say that. It's a little more positive. So when we transitioned to shared writing on that first day, when I have to set up an anchor chart, I'm gonna talk a little bit more in English about it than I will in the future, because like an anchor chart is basically something that the students and you will be returning back to again and again. So I'm gonna explain briefly in English what we're on about with this anchor chart, and I also will put up some visual scaffolding, like little sketches and symbols to help them understand and remember what the French words up there mean. And since we're going to be coming back to it day after day, I feel like this is a pretty good investment of some time in English, because we will be using it over and over. So I would say something like this. All right, you guys, we're starting a new unit. You could probably tell, I told you at the beginning of class, we're going to be studying some different regions in France. And what we're working on in writing this cycle is we're working on not losing the reader. So making sure that we write organized informational paragraphs and later essays to make sure we are teaching in a way that doesn't lose the reader. Like, anybody ever been in a class where you're totally lost and you don't know what you're supposed to learn? Yeah, me too. So we don't want to be like that, because when we're doing informational writing, we're basically teaching a course on what the information is. So in this case, different regions in France. So I'm just going to write up here, like, our goal is not to lose the reader. So we need to be guiding them or teaching them. So I'll just write, let's guide the reader. So guidons. And I'll just put some little, like you're here marks, like we're gonna be like a, little online guidebook. So guidons nos lecteurs. So lecteur looks a lot like lecture, but in this case it's the people that are reading what we wrote. So there's our book. And they're happy because they feel safe, and there's basically like a little map inside our book, so they know where it is that we are guiding them to. So guidons les lecteurs, or guidons nos lecteurs. Let's guard our readers through what we're doing. So today I'm going to teach you one little way to do that, which is to introduce to them that you're going to talk about 3 different things. Il y a 3 choses. And then we can put all kinds of things after that, but today we talked about what's the most French. So I'm going to add that down at the next line here. And we're going to say there's 3 things that are the most French in our opinion. Française. And then I guess the extra bonus, you guys, would be if we said in our opinions. Or in our opinion. And there's lots of ways to say that, but I'm going to say à notre avis. So that's us thinking. So we're going to guide our readers. Guidons nos lecteurs. Il y a 3 choses qui sont les plus françaises à notre avis. We're going to try to use that. Generally, teachers, this anchor chart would be literally anchored right here, but since I'm teaching this in a Airbnb, I'm going to just put this over to the side so I can show you some writing. But you notice I just switched into French after I just introduced that. When I come back to that tomorrow, because an anchor chart is something you're going to return to again and again. That's why it's called an anchor chart, because it's an anchor and you keep coming back to your anchor. When I come back to that tomorrow, I might have to say a few little things just to kind of remind them what we're talking about. But because I have all those pictures on there, and because I put the, it's the same thing, they're going to quickly actually get pretty comfortable with me just talking about it in French. So I switched over to French, and I would just stay in French. Okay. First, I'm going to put a goal box up here. And if you've never used a goal box, this might be, you might have to like take a moment to explain this to your kids. You guys, I'm going to put up here that goal, because I want to make sure that I use it while I'm writing. So, il y a 3 choses qui sont les plus françaises. And here's the bonus, à notre avis. So I'm going to try to use that as much as I can, or in this case, probably just going to be once. Maybe I can use à notre avis more than once, and every time I do that, I'm just going to give myself a little point, because I'm doing what we want to do. Okay, class, le titre. Sometimes the class will be suggesting things, but I'm just going to write this out the way I would just write it myself, because I don't really have class to debate with right now. So maybe the title is Ce que nous pensons sur la France. What we think about France. Okay. Ooh. About to do this, you guys. Il y a 3 choses qui sont les... And like, while I was doing this with my class, I would be questioning them. Like, hey class, 3 choses, ou 2 choses, ou 1 chose, ou 4 choses. Oh oui, 3 choses. 3 choses. Qui sont les plus françaises ou les moins françaises? Ou les plus italiennes ou les moins italiennes? Okay, les plus italiennes ou les plus françaises? So I'm kind of like getting some repetitions or circling around some of these things. Qui sont les plus françaises? 2 points. Les escargots, virgule, et les baguettes, et I forgot what else I said. Oh, la soupe, l'oignon, I misspelled that, gratiné. Il y a 3 choses qui sont les plus françaises. Oh! Qui sont? Yeah! À notre avis, les plus françaises. Les escargots et les baguettes et la soupe à l'oignon gratinée. 3. À notre avis, virgule, la chose. So like, I would ask them, like, what was the most French thing in our opinion? So I hope that sort of demystifies the process of using an anchor chart. I would highly recommend that you start trying them because they are super valuable and there's less sort of creating and thinking on your feet when you're teaching about information. So maybe with the freed up mental space that you gain during this unit, you can give anchor charts a whirl.